Okay, this is a bit of an intro. I've already washed this, but I'll throw in some clips of what it looked like and me cleaning it up a little bit. Now that I have the time to dig into it and the rain has stopped, this is, I believe, for an 88 Yamaha WaveRunner 500. It is a 500cc two-stroke. The gentleman had it on a trailer, but there was 5 feet of grass growing up around it, and well, it looked pretty rough. But it's a Yamaha, so I figured it'll run. It was beside an old Kawasaki TS650, and I kind of really wanted it. I wanted the Cowie motor to throw in an X2 that I'm working on. But besides that, I think now that the rain has stopped, we're gonna see if we can get this thing going and cross our fingers. But for anybody else that wants to pick up a free or really cheap ski and wants to know how to sort of the first things to do in order to get these things to run, we're gonna go through that. So I've already pulled the fuel tank completely out, which was simple. We had an air breather line, like the vent, the return line, and then we have the main fuel and the reserve, and we'll talk about that later, but I'm only gonna run off the on, and I'll probably get rid of this on-off reserve switch. If it works for now, I'll leave it on, and I'll make sure that the new fuel line I put in the tank here goes right down to the bottom with a fresh filter on it, and then I'll put a new inline filter on it, and that should be suffice. Anyways, let's pull these spark plugs out and see A, if we have spark, and B, what kind of compression we're looking at here. The original plugs, put 40-to-1 oil mix into the tank. Now, this being an older 88 or an 89, it doesn't have an oil pump, so there's nothing to delete. It was always a pre-mix machine, so that's one bonus. Next, I'm going to dump a little bit of oil, two-stroke oil, down into the cylinders. If there's a little bit of rust in there or the rings are stuck or anything like that, I'd just rather lube it up than just dry fire it, you know. So I've got a little bit of two-stroke oil on here and a little dab of gas just to thin it out a little bit. I'm going to dump it down into the spark plug holes into the cylinder here. Now I've removed the drive line, the coupler, the cover, the splash cover down there, so I can turn it slowly by hand just to make sure that the oil is wetting the cylinder walls. Give that a minute and I'll come back and we'll go from there. I've got the original plugs here. I'm going to put them on. I'm going to hit the start button. Hopefully it makes a sound, and we're going to see if we've got spark. So, and oh yeah, there's spark. We got spark. Motor sounds all right, actually. Next is the scary part. Compression tester. Let's go. Oh. 120, 125, 130. Here we go with the second one. 129, so a 130. So we're even on both cylinders. So we've got spark and we've got pretty good compression. And we're gonna see if we can get it to fire. We have a little bit of gas in this with a tiny little bit of oil. These are a BR7HS. Let's tighten these plugs on. We always call it spark plug tight, which is universal. So usually this is the main fuel line. Usually this rubber hose on here, it can be cracked, and in that case you start sucking air and you get air in your fuel line and the thing won't run, or it'll run horribly. So I've replaced this line with a new fuel line. There was a big Yamaha filter on here. It was like a paper mesh style with a screen around it. I had a few of these left from a Sea-Doo that I worked on a few years ago, new in the package. So pop this back on, throw this clamp back on. Now you want to tighten this so that obviously it doesn't leak air, because this tank pressurizes. Let's see if this is going to fire. Pull the choke. And here we go. To get too warm because you're not running it in the water, so you can run it, you know, for 30 or 40 seconds. I lucked out on that one. Now the other thing is down here there's a splash cover. It's a big plastic cover that goes over the drive couplers, and yes, you can get to the Zerk fitting right there. It had the original Yamaha grease on it. It was just old, and if you remove this, which is 12 stainless screws, and then be gentle and peel it up, because there's a little bit of a rubber seal there that's, if aged, it's sticky. To the Zerk fitting, you come through here and you're able to stick the line on, and I put about 20 pumps in there until it started to stiffen up a little bit, so it keeps the water from entering the bearing housing. I have no idea how this is going to run under load when it's in the water, because the carburetor obviously has been sitting. It is a BN38, I believe, and on the shelf in my garage, it looks a little rough, but it's a fully rebuilt BN38. The fuel pump, you can see all the new gaskets in it. The whole thing's been torn apart. I was running this on a JS 440 and it ran mint until the oil seals on the 440 went. I have a few extra gaskets in here. Fresh gaskets for the base here. And if this thing causes me any grief, I'll just go ahead and throw this one on. And if this BN38 doesn't do what I want it to do, I have a trick up my sleeve. I have an SBN38, which is a little more modern. All the diaphragms, gaskets, everything, this carb has been rebuilt too. It's just a lot easier to tune. That'll be my last resort though, if the one in the ski doesn't run, and this one, which I guarantee this one will run. This plug is a little rubber O-ring. They can go bad. I've checked this one. It looked good. I've put it back in, and we'll see how that goes. There's a rod here, which took me a few days to figure that out. Instead of using a ratchet strap, that pops in. This comes down. Hood dash, so this does go on here, goes around there, straps on. It's not on there. There was a nice bee wasp nest in there, so that was a good surprise. The seat isn't in bad shape, it's just faded, so it could use a new cover, but there's no tears in it, and it almost looks like cowhide, the color of it. There, I believe it did used to say Yamaha across there at one point. But there's the beauty in all her glory. Okay, this is a couple of days later. We finally have some sun. It's a little nicer out, a little warmer out. I spent the last couple of days in the evenings just cleaning it up a bit. I removed the old numbers that were on here. I used actually just a razor blade. I had magic eraser, which I never usually use. I usually use a little bit of gas or brake clean or carb cleaner and spray it on there, and it usually takes all the gunk off. So I removed the sticker that was on here. I took some spray 9 to the hull, cleaned it up quite a bit. It's not quite white. I It's like a creamy color, but it's a lot better. It's a lot cleaner. And then in here, we've cleaned up quite a bit. Up in there, it was pretty dirty. Underneath here was all greasy. That's cleaned up. The seal that goes all around here is obviously, it was sitting fastened down, so the seal has been squished so much that I had to tighten these a little bit so it pulls down snugger on it. But I cleaned up the dash. This pad's held on with these little nipples, the old pad that goes on here, and it was just a little rough, so I had this kicking around. I thought, why not? Looks a little more, I don't know, looks a little more modern. I cleaned that as best I could in there. Dry storage, still has the rubber seal here. I wouldn't trust it 100%. I don't think I'd stick my cell phone in there right away, but maybe I can get a new seal. Again, it cleaned up really nice for considering the condition that it was in. So, smoky, that's what I like. Anyways, now it's time to take it to the lake. Here we go. This slips out a lot, the kill switch, so I've got it wedged up in there, but okay, we'll let it warm up a bit. Seems to be idling pretty good. All right. Should be warm enough. We'll see how it goes. I'll go easy on it at first. Good. Go from there. It starts awesome. All right. Big swan right there. Holy. Probably turn the idle down. It's idling a little high, but all right, let's take it in for a minute and I'll get the drone up. Minsky. There you go.